Actually, I gotta show you these screws too. What happened was they put in 4 screws.
Ooh, you gotta get this right. It's heavyweight. Oh, look.
He was a monster. Today, he struggles to lift his own body. Ronnie Coleman, the man who defied the limits of human strength, 8-time Mr. Olympia. He lifted weights that seemed impossible, made the impossible look routine. But the price of greatness was high. Surgeries, pain, sacrifices, and today he struggles to lift his own body, and the truth is more shocking than you imagined. The words echo like the weight of a barbell dropping on the floor of Metroflex Gym, where Ronnie Coleman forged his body and his destiny. Behind the colossal muscles, the gleaming trophies, and the characteristic shouts of "Yeah, buddy" and "Lightweight, baby," hid a story of determination, sacrifice, and almost incomprehensible physical pain that few knew until it was too late. This is the untold saga of the man who would become the greatest bodybuilder of all time, whose body and mind were tested beyond any conceivable human limit. Born on May 13, 1964, in Monroe, Louisiana, Ronald Dean Coleman had a modest childhood. Raised by his mother, Jessie Benton Coleman, along with 3 younger siblings, young Ronnie didn't dream of gleaming stages or the Mr. Olympia crown. His world revolved around football fields and the tranquil waters where he fished to escape the reality of a family struggling to survive. It was on those football fields that his natural strength first manifested, catching the attention of coaches who would see him grow from a skinny teenager into an intimidating linebacker. Are you enjoying this story, Ronnie Coleman? Then help the channel with your subscription. Look, 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you are part of that group, take the chance and subscribe. Now, it's free, and that way you'll keep receiving amazing stories from TV shows we still miss. Oh, and don't forget, at the end of the video you'll find more stories like this one. Coleman's academic journey was as impressive as his subsequent career on the stages. Contrary to the stereotype of the bodybuilder focused only on muscles, he graduated with honors in accounting from Grambling State University in 1989, where he played football under legendary coach Eddie Robinson. Few know that Coleman initially resisted the idea of playing college football, fearing he wasn't good enough, but ended up joining the team as a walk-on in his sophomore year. This initial hesitation reveals a little-known facet of Coleman: the humility that would persist even when he became the dominant Mr. Olympia. What many fans don't know is that Coleman's first traumatic experience with injuries occurred long before his bodybuilding career. At 17, during a powerlifting competition in which he was trying to squat 500 pounds, he felt the first ominous warning of what would become his nemesis decades later. Suddenly, something happened. Crack. I instantly felt like a giant lightning bolt penetrated my lower back, burning my entire backside. He vividly reported in his autobiography, "Yeah, buddy." This moment, almost forgotten in the narratives about his career, was the first episode in a series of injuries that would silently haunt him. During his college years, injuries continued to accumulate. As a senior linebacker at Grambling State University, Coleman suffered neck and back injuries that taught him the first cruel lesson: living with pain. A lesson that would become both his greatest strength and his eventual downfall. Intense college training wasn't just about improving his performance on the field, it was a form of therapy, an escape for a young man carrying the hopes of his family and community. The accounting degree represented his safe plan, the conventional route to a stable life that his mother always wanted for him. But destiny rarely follows linear plans, and Coleman's first major professional disappointment came when, diploma in hand, he couldn't find employment as an accountant. The job market at the time wasn't receptive to young African-American accountants, even with excellent training. This closed door, which seemed like a tragedy at that moment, would end up opening the path to his true vocation. In search of any opportunity, Coleman moved to Dallas, Texas, where his first position was as a pizza delivery man at Domino's. This obscure period of his biography is rarely mentioned, but it fundamentally shaped his character. "I was basically living off pizza and working for tips," he confessed years later. "I came to think that I had wasted my university education." Does he do? The humiliation of an honors graduate delivering pizzas could have broken many, but for Coleman, it was just fuel for his iron determination. The turning point began when he got a job at the Arlington, Texas Police Department in 1989, starting what he himself described as his dream job. This is one of the best-kept secrets of his biography. Coleman genuinely loved being a police officer, to the point of stating in an interview, "I had so much passion for working in the police department that I would have done it for free." For years, even at the height of his career as a bodybuilder, Coleman remained a police officer, working the night shift and training during the day, a duality few could sustain. The encounter with Metroflex Gym and its owner Brian Dobson would forever transform Coleman's life. Although for initially prosaic reasons, Coleman simply wanted a gym to train at for free. When Dobson saw that police officer with an impressive physique, whose veins and muscles bulged even through a sweatshirt, he immediately recognized the extraordinary potential. "He had the best arms I had ever seen in person, and I had been with the best bodybuilders in the nation at that time," Dobson revealed. He had never been in a contest or done a real arm workout outside of football training. He didn't know who Mr. Olympia was when I told him he could probably be Mr. Olympia. Dobson's proposal was simple: a free lifetime gym membership in exchange for allowing Dobson to train him for competitions. Coleman, who at that moment just wanted to save money, accepted without imagining that he was sealing his fate. His first competition was Mr. Texas in 1990, where he surprisingly defeated his own trainer. This first taste of victory revealed to Coleman a world he didn't know and for which he seemed naturally built. The following years, however, revealed that the path to the top would be much harder than his promising start suggested. Coleman got his IFBB Pro card in 1992 after winning the World Amateur Championship, but his debut at that year's Mr. Olympia ended with a ranking outside the top 15. This disappointing result would be just the beginning of a phase of struggles and lessons that few fans know about. Coleman returned to the Olympia stage in 1994, finishing 15th, a position far from the glamour associated with his name years later. His first professional victory came only in 1995 at the Canada Pro Cup, which earned him another chance at the Olympia, where he rose to 11th place. He repeated the Canada Pro Cup title in 1996 and rose to 6th place at that year's Olympia. Although his trajectory was pointing upward, a particularly devastating defeat at the 1997 Ironman, where he placed third, almost led him to abandon his career. In this competition, Coleman lost to Lee Priest, who was 15 centimeters shorter and almost 27 kilograms lighter. "It was the most painful defeat of my career," he confessed years later. What few know is that 1996 also marked the silent beginning of his chronic health problems, when he dislocated a disc during a squat training session. Coleman, following the pattern he had established since his youth, ignored the injury and continued training. The decision to delay treatment for almost a decade while building his legacy would have devastating consequences that would only fully manifest years later. The great turning point in his career came after the 1997 Olympia, where he finished 9th. Unsatisfied with his performance, Coleman sought out competitor Flex Wheeler to discover how to improve his muscle definition, specifically how to reduce water retention. Wheeler shared his technique, and the next day, Coleman appeared on stage, with a radically improved form, beating Wheeler by just 3 points. This little-known episode reveals not only Coleman's humility in seeking advice from a rival, but also the camaraderie that existed behind the intense rivalries of the sport. In 1998, Coleman won his first Mr. Olympia title, defeating the favorite, Flex Wheeler, in one of the biggest surprises in the history of the competition. What should have been just another edition of the tournament transformed into the beginning of an era of unprecedented domination. From that moment on, Coleman never looked back, winning 8 consecutive Mr. Olympias and tying Lee Haney's record. What makes his rise even more extraordinary is that, during the first years of his career as Mr. Olympia, Coleman continued working as a full-time police officer. This duality created surreal situations, such as when citizens were approached by a police officer whose face also graced bodybuilding magazines on newsstands. "Bodybuilding was a hobby. Being a cop was what I did," he revealed in an interview with Muscle and Fitness, subverting the common perception that bodybuilding was always his main goal. A revealing detail of Coleman's inhuman routine is narrated in his documentary. After working the night shift as a police officer, he would go straight to the gym, train intensely, and only then allow himself a few hours of sleep before resuming the cycle. This superhuman dedication and ability to endure privations established a dangerous pattern that Coleman would follow even when his fame and success no longer demanded such sacrifice. The year 2003 marked Coleman's physical peak, when he appeared at Mr. Olympia weighing an impressive 132 kilograms of pure muscle mass with extreme definition. Jay Cutler, who had taken the previous year off and arrived confident to dethrone the champion, described his reaction upon seeing Coleman backstage. "The minute Coleman took his clothes off backstage, my mouth dropped and I knew it was game over." Kevin Levrone went even further in his description. Ronnie Coleman had reached a point where he didn't look human backstage. It looked like a silverback gorilla. It was part human, part gorilla. The period between 2003 and 2004 saw Coleman reach his heaviest onstage weight. Weighing between 136 and 138 kilograms for the IFBB English Grand Prix, IFBB Dutch Grand Prix, and IFBB Russian Grand Prix of 2004, winning all 3 and surpassing Vince Taylor to become the most decorated professional bodybuilder of all time. At the 2005 Mr. Olympia, announcer Mike Adamle introduced Coleman, who was dressed in a medieval king costume, with the words, "On the 7th day, God didn't rest. On the 7th day, God created Ronnie Coleman." What remains a secret to many fans is the brutal intensity of the workouts that produced that legendary physique. Behind the scenes at Metroflex Gym, a non-air-conditioned gym in the suffocating heat of Texas, Coleman performed feats of strength that seemed impossible. In 2000, preparing for his 3rd Mr. Olympia, he deadlifted 755 pounds for 4 repetitions, and then 800 pounds, 362.9 kilos, for 2 repetitions. In 2003, preparing for his 6th Mr. Olympia, he squatted 800 pounds for 2 repetitions, one of the most viral videos of all time on YouTube, with over 60 million views, shows Coleman performing an 800-pound squat while shouting his mantra, "Lightweight, baby." The irony of this moment, which for millions represents the epitome of human strength, is that this same exercise was silently destroying his spinal column, creating injuries that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The most tragic aspect of this story is that, while defending the Mr. Olympia title every autumn and traveling the world as an ambassador for bodybuilding, Coleman ignored medical recommendations for surgery. After a leg workout that resulted in persistent pain, an MRI revealed a herniated disc and doctors recommended surgical intervention. Coleman refused, as his career was in meteoric rise. After just 2 weeks of rest, He was back at Metroflex gym, squatting again, establishing a self-destructive pattern he would maintain for years. Coleman's diet during his competitive years was as extreme as his workouts. A diet of 6 to 8 daily meals, consuming about 5,500 calories, with a distribution of 65% protein, 20 to 25% carbohydrates, and 5 to 10% fat. This dietary regimen, combined with intensive supplementation, allowed him to maintain extraordinary muscle mass with minimal body fat levels. He literally has no body fat. None. With paper-thin skin, described Brian Dobson. That's something that you either have or you don't have. It's rare to see a man that large who maintains that lower level of body fat. Coleman's daily routine during his competitive peak would begin at 6 a.m., when he would wake up for his first meal. Throughout the day, he ate every 3 hours, alternating between lean proteins such as chicken breast, egg whites, and fish, with complex carbohydrates like sweet potato, brown rice, and oatmeal. His dedication to diet was as absolute as to training, not allowing deviations even on special occasions. This monastic commitment to discipline was fundamental to his domination of the sport, but it also reflects the obsessive personality that would prevent him from listening to his body's warning signs. Are you enjoying this story, Ronnie Coleman? Then help the channel with your subscription. Look, 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you are part of that group, take the chance and subscribe now. It's free, and that way you'll keep receiving amazing stories from TV shows we still miss. Oh, and don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. Coleman's last competition was the 2007 Mr. Olympia, where he finished 4th, marking the end of an era. Only then, at 43, did he finally decide to address his back pain with the spinal surgery that a doctor had recommended 10 years earlier, when he had not yet won any of his 8 Mr. Olympia titles. Unfortunately, this first intervention established a challenging precedent, marking the beginning of an endless series of surgeries, none of which brought lasting relief. Coleman's medical ordeal intensified in 2014 when he underwent a double hip replacement. The following year, after a long international flight, his back pain rapidly increased, leaving him dependent on crutches just 2 days later. Upon returning to Texas, he underwent a 13-hour spinal surgery, initiating a downward spiral in his health that continues to this day. The year 2018 was particularly devastating, with 3 spinal surgeries in a single year. The procedures included vertebral fusion, repairing broken screws from a previous surgery, and replacing all screws with larger versions. After his 3rd surgery in 2018, Coleman candidly shared, "I don't know if walking without crutches will ever happen, because there's been too much damage done to my body with all these surgeries. A lot of it has to do with the way the surgeon performed the surgery. And the surgeon that I've had for the last 3 surgeries has been really bad and caused a lot of damage to my body." The true extent of Coleman's suffering is rarely discussed, even among dedicated fans. During an interview, he revealed that after another attempt at spinal surgery to relieve pressure and pain, the screws in his back snapped. This also caused the bones in the area to break. This compounding problem led to some of the worst pain Ronnie had ever felt in his life. Eventually, he lost feeling in his legs and the ability to walk. In the hospital, his pain was so severe that no painkiller could relieve it. He was unable to sleep due to constant pain, 24 hours a day, every day. "I actually feel like I'm about to die," he confessed during his documentary, describing the pain as intense and present 24/7. He also revealed his use of the opioid painkiller oxycodone, admitting that he swallowed 4, sometimes 5 30-milligram pills every single day. A particularly shocking detail that few know is that, at one point, Coleman had undergone so many surgeries that doctors were forced to cut through the front of his body, temporarily removing his intestines because there was so much scar tissue in his back that it became impossible to operate by the conventional method. This brutal reality is rarely mentioned in discussions about the sacrifices demanded by elite bodybuilding. To date, Coleman has undergone 13 surgeries, on his hips twice, on his neck twice, and on his back 9 times. In 2020, after breaking a socket, he had both hips replaced again. His entire spinal column is fused, except for a single disc, which is now herniated. In an interview with Joe Rogan in 2020, Coleman said of his rebuilt spine, "I've got 14 screws, 2 cages to hold discs together, 2 rods about this long, 45 centimeters in there, 2. Today, Coleman can only walk short distances without crutches. Beyond that, his legs begin to feel too weak to support him due to nerve damage in his back." The image of the 8-time Mr. Olympia, once the personification of human strength, now dependent on a wheelchair or crutches to get around, is a painful contrast to the icon who dominated the sport for nearly a decade. The cruel irony is that, despite the devastating consequences, Coleman never completely abandoned training. He still exercises regularly, albeit with only light weights, and still follows a bodybuilder's diet, reduced to 3 daily meals, instead of the 6 or more he consumed during his competitive years. When Joe Rogan asked if he would hesitate to continue lifting weights after so many surgeries, Coleman replied, "No, when you're doing something that you truly love and enjoy doing, that's what you look forward to doing all the time, regardless of how you feel." This response perfectly encapsulates Coleman's unwavering spirit, but it also reveals the mentality that contributed to his current condition. Even after multiple surgeries and explicit medical warnings to avoid intense training, particularly squats, Coleman returns to the gym. A doctor in his documentary noted, "For his overall well-being, I think he needs to train." Strengthening his muscles continues to be a way of life for Coleman, and he doesn't give up even as he fights just to stay healthy. Dr. Antonio Webb, an orthopedic spine surgeon, shared his honest assessment of Coleman's 13 back surgeries, highlighting the impact of squatting. "One of the biggest things that I try to stress to my patients and try to harp on is to avoid squatting. Squatting it can cause a lot of injury to your back and to the discs or the cushions in your back." The doctor explained that the amount of pounds placed upon the spine adds 4 pounds of pressure and force. So, 400 pounds? You're looking at 16,000 pounds of force across that disc, which is not good for your spine. When questioned about his views regarding the role of bodybuilding in his current health problems, Coleman surprisingly denies any direct correlation. He reveals that he has been suffering from body aches since his college days when he was a football player, and claims that his hip replacement surgery was the result of a genetic condition, not intensive training. This position defies medical consensus and reveals the complex psychological relationship that Coleman maintains with the sport that simultaneously elevated him to glory and contributed to his physical decline despite his inability to walk without support. Coleman maintains a remarkably positive attitude. Even when detailing the hardest moments of his life, he can't help but smile and laugh. This mental resilience is perhaps as extraordinary as his former physical feats, demonstrating an inner strength that transcends the physical. When asked if he would do it all again if he had the chance, Coleman states without hesitation that he wouldn't change anything, demonstrating an almost stoic acceptance of the consequences of his choices. Beyond his bodybuilding career, few know about Coleman's commercial ventures. In 2011, he launched Ronnie Coleman Signature Series, RCSS, a supplement company that provides sports nutrition and wellness products for bodybuilders and other athletes. Products such as King Whey Protein, King Mass, Weight Gainer, and the pre-workout Yeah Buddy are among the best sellers. This successful business demonstrates Coleman's entrepreneurial vision and his ability to transform his name into a lasting brand. Even after the end of his competitive career, Coleman also received significant recognition beyond the bodybuilding world. He was the recipient of the Admiral in the Texas Navy Certificate Award in 2001, awarded by Texas Governor Rick Perry for outstanding achievements in bodybuilding and for the promotion of physical fitness. He was inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame in 2016 and received the Arnold Schwarzenegger Lifetime Achievement Award in 2021. Coleman is a supporter of inner-city games, co-founded by Schwarzenegger in 1991, demonstrating his commitment to social causes despite his own physical challenges. His personal life has also undergone significant transformations over the years. At 61, completed on May 13, 2025, Coleman is married and the father of 4 young daughters. 2 years ago, he sold his longtime home in Arlington, Texas, to move his family of 6 to a larger residence, showing his dedication to family life despite health challenges. The cultural impact of Ronnie Coleman extends far beyond competitive bodybuilding. His catchphrases like "lightweight baby" and "yeah buddy" have become part of the lexicon of gyms worldwide, repeated by fitness enthusiasts who may never have watched a bodybuilding competition. His training videos, which show seemingly impossible weightlifts, accompanied by his characteristic shouts, have inspired generations of athletes to exceed their perceived limits. Coleman also revolutionized the way bodybuilders present themselves to the public. While many of his predecessors maintained an aura of mystery around their training methods and diet, Coleman opened the doors to his life, allowing cameras to follow him during police patrols and document his brutal workouts at Metroflex. This transparent and accessible approach helped humanize the sport and connected with a broader audience. Coleman's technical legacy in bodybuilding includes redefining the limits of human muscle mass with definition. When he appeared on the Mr. Olympia stage in 2003, weighing 132 kilograms with minimal body fat levels, he established a new paradigm that would influence the sport in the decades to follow. Olympia head judge Steve Weinberger said that Coleman brought a level of muscularity the world has never seen before or since. His characteristic poses, particularly the rear double biceps and the rear lat spread, were described by legendary bodybuilder Flex Wheeler as perfection from top to bottom, and ranked among the greatest of all time. Coleman's unique combination of extreme size, sharp conditioning, and dominant body parts created a standard that few have been able to approach, much less equal. Perhaps the deepest and most disturbing lesson from Coleman's story is the price that the human body can pay for the pursuit of extreme excellence. Dr. Webb noted, "To grow, your body needs to recover. The problem with a lot of weightlifters and people that go to the gym to lift, they don't give their bodies time to recover. Then your body sustains injury to those muscles, to the ligaments, to the tendons, then they are more likely to tear or to undergo degeneration." This message about the importance of recovery contrasts dramatically with Coleman's approach, who frequently trained the same muscle group multiple times a week with maximum intensity. The refusal to allow his body to heal properly, combined with extremely heavy weights, created a perfect storm that would eventually take its toll. The long-term consequences of Coleman's choices raise important questions about the ethics and sustainability of professional bodybuilding and other extreme sports. How far is too far in the pursuit of physical excellence? What is the responsibility of coaches, promoters, and the industry in protecting athletes from themselves? These questions remain without satisfactory answers, while Coleman and others like him continue to pay the price for their past achievements. Despite devastating health challenges, Coleman maintains an active presence on social media, sharing recovery updates, gym sessions, and his characteristic phrases with millions of followers on Instagram and YouTube. In a video shared with his more than 3 million Instagram followers, Coleman appears training alone on Christmas Day. "Yeah, buddy, ain't nothing but a lonely Christmas day in the gym by myself. On Christmas Day, working out by myself, with myself. That's how you do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. This unwavering dedication, even while facing chronic pain and limited mobility, continues to inspire fans worldwide. The image of Coleman in a wheelchair between sets at the gym perfectly exemplifies his life philosophy. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. This Spartan simplicity, this refusal to accept limitations or excuses, remains his trademark. In recent years, Coleman has experimented with alternative therapies in the hope of regaining some mobility. He has shared updates on his stem cell therapy, a treatment he has been undergoing for months and which, according to him, has significantly reduced his pain levels. However, in an interview with Muscular Development with Ron Harris, Coleman expressed that he is still struggling to walk without assistance, revealing the persistent and complex nature of his health problems. When observing Ronnie Coleman's journey in its entirety, from the boy from Monroe, Louisiana, to the Arlington police officer, to the dominant Mr. Olympia, to the successful businessman, to the dedicated father, and finally to the warrior fighting against physical limitations, emerges the portrait of a man whose life transcends simple categories. His story is not just about muscles and trophies, but about the human spirit and its ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Bodybuilder. Dexter Jackson described Coleman as the most dominant physique in history to ever grace a bodybuilding stage. This physical dominance, however, is just one chapter in a broader narrative about determination, sacrifice, pain, and resilience. Coleman's true greatness may not reside in the 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles, but in the dignity and inner strength with which he faces each new day, each new challenge, with the same battle cry that made him famous. "Yeah, buddy!" Ultimately, Ronnie Coleman's story is about choices and consequences, about passion and price. His life forces us to contemplate how much we are willing to sacrifice for what we love, and whether momentary glory is worth a life of pain. Coleman offers no easy answers to these questions. His existence is simultaneously a testament to the greatness humans can achieve and a warning about the risks of exceeding the natural limits of the human body. Perhaps most powerful is that despite everything, Coleman expresses no regrets. When asked if he would do it all again knowing the outcome, his response is invariably positive. This is not the discourse of someone in denial, but of a man who has fully accepted the Faustian pact he made with his body, eternal glory in exchange for perpetual pain. It's a bargain that few would make consciously, but one that Coleman embraces with the same intensity with which he once lifted 800 pounds, shouting, "Lightweight, baby," while the world watched in amazement. Are you enjoying this story, Ronnie Coleman? Then help the channel with your subscription. Look, 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you are part of that group, take the chance and subscribe now. It's free, and that way you'll keep receiving amazing stories from TV shows we still miss. Oh, and don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. And so, as Ronnie Coleman continues his daily battle against the limitations of his body, his legacy remains as a complex testament to human greatness and cost. For those seeking inspiration, he demonstrates that limits can be challenged. For those seeking caution, he illustrates the price such challenges may demand. And for all of us, he offers a powerful reminder that true strength resides not only in the body, but also, and perhaps primarily, in the indomitable spirit that dwells within each of us.